It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. But this wasn't a tale of two cities. No, no. This was a tale of two 900s. How does this story go? I am so glad you asked. It goes e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and a Scotch game. How exciting. Bam, 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 bam. Pieces fly off the board. Soldiers charging into each other recklessly. And now we have pawn to d6, the last book move, and now we have knight to c3, getting a green star even better than the book. White is out here inventing and improving openings beyond the book. Bam, knight to f6, black, not one to be deterred, places the knight down to f6, and now white plays pawn to e5. Black takes it, and white is not going to take that pawn back. No, no. White has a different plan in mind. White's plan is queen trade. After king takes, pin the knight. After the knight gets unpinned, queenside castle with check. One of the most Giga Chad moves in chess. All right, here's how it goes as far as the tiering of Giga Chad moves in chess, right? And I'm definitely an authority to speak on this. We have S tier. We have en passant checkmate. We have checkmate by promoting a pawn to a knight. We have regular castle checkmate, but that's S tier. Below S tier is A tier, where we have queenside castles with check. That's definitely up there. Smothered mate is definitely up there. And then kind of the BM under promotion, where you could make a queen to checkmate them right then, but instead you make a rook, right? Not as cool as a knight, but still a pretty Giga Chad move. So white, clearly this is their preparation. Clearly white made a Lichess study and titled it Scotch Game, Pawn Gambit, Queenside Castle with Check, Giga Chad Variation, and played this move e5 all in their prep, all prepared ahead of time, in advance, using awesome Giga Chad brain. Bam, 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 bam. Queenside Castle with check. How Giga Chad is that? Knight blocks, but unfortunately now everything is just fine for black. Black is up this pawn. This rook can go over here. You got to be careful about the pins. And the king can now go back here, and everything will be just fine. Now, the reason, even though black's up a pawn, the computer gives us a dead heat, is because it's going to be pretty hard for black to get these pieces developed, as you will see in the game. Okay, bishop to c4, solid move. Now pawn to f6, creating a pawn chain, also solid. And now knight to b5, attacking the pawn. All right, now black could say that my pawn is under attack, but why don't I turn the tables? Cue the Michael Scott, look how the turntables, and bam, now the knight is the one under attack. And if you think, oh, I'm going to attack the rook, rook goes here, and now the knight runs out of squares. The only safe square is here because the bishop covers it, but this is a blunder. This is a blunder because the computer's being too nice. Because black now has a killer move, knight to b6. Now, this knight is attacked twice, only defended once, and the bishop is hanging. White is completely screwed here. Oops, you don't want to do that. I don't know why I did that. Okay, but instead of that, black defends the pawn with the king. As you can see, this pawn highlighted is Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and it is only going to move forward when at the appropriate time, when the black general deems it necessary, and not 1 second before. Rook to d3, getting ready to pile up. Knight goes back, and now we have pawn to b5. Not a good move because it allows bishop to e6, PP on the PP, as every chess YouTuber says. And now there's a lot of pressure on this knight, and there's even, I was about to say there's even more pressure once this happens, but I forgot this trade happened. And now the rooks get doubled up, putting pressure on this bishop. Everything is okay after rook to e7. But that gives white enough counterplay to stay in the game. And white goes pawn to g3. This pawn is not Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. It is Eye of the Tiger, and it's just moving forward, charging boldly into the abyss. Charge of the Light Brigade right here. And bam! Big blunder from black trying to unpin and defend everything, but that allows knight to c5 with a fork on the rook and the pawn. You cannot defend both. So that, and actually it's even worse, because if the rook moves over here, this is a huge mega fork on the position, and this is destruction of the highest level. So you actually just have to sacrifice the exchange and play, I don't know, maybe play something like this to stop the check, and then just be down the exchange, but up a pawn. It's still not going to be good enough, though, because actually after that trade happens, then these rooks are coming in. So this is just really devastating. This is just really devastating. But that doesn't happen. Instead, white decides to have their king go Eye of the Tiger and push in, disconnecting the rooks from each other, giving this rook a little 5-minute break here from the action. Instead of that, and now we have bishop to g4. Okay, pawn blocks, attacks the bishop. Bishop now attacks the rook. Knight blocks, trades. All right, now this rook goes over here. Of course, the rook's pinned, so the king gets out of the way. Takes, and this rook goes over here. Now, Gotham Chess says, if you're trying to win an endgame, trade off one pair of rooks. In fact, that's obvious. That's not 100% true, because if both sides have a rook and there's like, I don't know, 3 or less pawns per side and all the pawns are on the same side, I think that's a theoretical draw, but I don't know that for sure. Even if there's a 1-pawn advantage, I can't remember. But the thing about having the rooks is, if you are the attacking side, it's easier for you to get in and make problems if you had a rook. Whereas if you had just a king, it's a little harder. Okay, so now rook goes over here, and white decides to trade this way. Big mistake. White needed to go king here. The rook is still protected. And if this trade happens, now white can easily just go in. It can go in here for some activity, or it can go here, and there is no defending this pawn. And after that pawn falls, this is way better, but after this pawn falls, this pawn also falls, and now white has an outside pass pawn, and it is going to be some problems. The computer says it's 0-0. It's holdable for black. They are up a pawn, but you got to get that king active. But instead, white decides to get here, and now black's king is active. Black is at plus 1.7, and now this pawn goes. It is going to be the one active instead of the king. White obviously played this move to play this, but it's just not that. It's just not. You don't need that right now. You don't need that. This pawn actually needs to be crouching tiger, hidden dragon here, and then just, only come up at the appropriate time. Get your king in the game. He's the most powerful piece in the game right now, right? What are you going to do? This pawn goes up and it's just not checkmate. Like, you're fine. And even if this king goes here, or not here, but like it goes here, and then this pawn goes up, it's not checkmate. You go here. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Okay, now this pawn goes up again, a little prematurely here. Computer wants black to get the king in the game. Pawn to a4. Again, that was the plan. Here it comes. Now king goes up, bunch of trades. And again, okay. Pawn now goes here, and now we have this move. This move is very silly by black, because it's the white pawns cover all of this from the black king. It's going to be harder for the black king to actually get in, and that's what you need when we're trying to win an endgame. White can just stall this out. Okay, but you could just take it, and after this, you gotta babysit this pawn for a bit, but you could play something like this and start attacking on the queen side. And actually, I think it'll lead to some zugzwang positions after these pawns are moved up. I didn't fully go in the rabbit hole here, but I think it leads to some zugzwang positions where white basically just runs out of moves, and then black can use their advantage to win. So instead we have this. Okay, now we're defending. We're defending like this. Okay, king's still not going in. Okay, now Pawns are starting to move up. King's starting to get in. Pawn goes over here. And wrong move again. King going here is the best move. Because if like this happens, then the king gets a pretty strong position here. Even though it's still waiting for black. Because of this passed pawn. It's harder. But yeah, that we have this instead. I don't know the idea behind this move. This is too high level for me. Is it like this and then this? That doesn't seem like oh, but that's minus 70. That is minus 70 for black. I guess black can easily just start pushing forward. King goes here, pawns start moving up, and this 2-on-1 makes all the difference. But okay. And now we have pawn to h6. Pawn backs up. Okay, pawn goes forward. Okay. King goes over here and check. And now all of the advantage is gone. All of the advantage is gone. All you had to do was take the pawn. All you had to do is take the pawn. And then now, black has so many options. Black, just want to make sure I get the right move. Yes, haha, mate in 21. Found the right move. So proud of myself. And then now what? Now what? What does white have here? Okay, you start chasing down here. Like, it's no problem. It's no problem. King can go down here. Everything's like this pawn is still going to, and you like remotely, you try to go over here and stop these pawns. Well, uh-oh, here comes this. Here comes this. You're not stopping this pawn, period. So that was all black had to do. And instead, black got excited and played this check. King goes here. Best move. Where else were you going to go? This was covered. This was covered. This is stupid. This is stupid. This is stupid. Like, where else would you go? Great move by white. Okay. Black goes here. And now another great move by white. The only move that secures the draw. Taking away every single one of black's entry points. Black can make no progress in this endgame at all. White can't make any progress either. Let's not get it twisted, right? White is denied all of these squares. It's really hard for white to make progress too, but white is not the one up a pawn. And as you can see in this gladiator match, in this battle, very precise it says, when the game is pretty much a draw. They're right on target. But these two gladiators finally make a draw. And that was one of the games of all time.